top of the A, top of the day, top of the king. And not to brag, the chain's expensive, a lot for the ring. Been through a lot, even had to cop a squat in the Bing. But that's okay, cause I came home and I hopped in that thing. And dead or alive, that's just the way the streets leave you. It's the difference between the streets and street legal.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Street Legal. I'm Bob Macedonio, your host. I'm joined tonight by my co-host Link, and tonight we have a special guest, Dr. Thomas Ryer. And tonight we're going to be discussing mental health issues and how they are interacted and interfaced with our legal system, not only the criminal justice system, but also the entire legal system, family court, as well as the family units, and how that all plays a part in our society. Again, Bob Macedonio, joined by Link and Dr. Thomas Ryer. Doc, I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Thank you. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
As always. It's always good speaking with you.
You know, society often frowns upon people with mental health issues, and we try to take a hands-away approach to it, but it really has a great impact in all of our lives in one aspect or another, Doctor. Would you agree?
Yes, I do.
And not only, getting caught up in the justice system, but also, the breakdown of families. It goes untreated. What are some of the things you'd like to discuss tonight, Doc? Why we came out and what we as a society, jails are lacking. That listen, we're never going to get rid of incarceration. We're never going to get rid of crime totally. So it's always going to be an issue in our society. Yes. But if we could, the people that are incarcerated or are in the jails, if we could treat it and have that number go down, so we don't have a 50% recidivism rate within the first year. Mm-hmm. What could the jails or the correction facilities be doing to address this?
Well, I think they should make mental health more portable, more accessible, and to develop a trust with the prisoners in prison. Right. If you don't have the trust and you don't make it more portable and make it more accessible, then guys are not going to do it. But what I want to say is that this is a common practice. This is a systemic practice. This is why you have 50% of recidivism. The same people who left prison are going back into prison like a revolving door. You have very few others who are coming back, but the revolving door is that men were not prepared to be released into society, and so what they do, they go out and commit the same crimes, or sometimes different types of crime, or some more vicious crimes, and then the cycle just repeats itself.
Yeah, there seems to be more of a focus put on, which is also important, GED, job training. They should have as equal focus put on, mental health issues, right, and address that in the prisons as much as they do, drug treatment, GED treatment, or getting your education. Because like you said, an overwhelming majority of people incarcerated, 64% of local jail inmates have some type of mental health issue.
Exactly.
I'm not saying, mental illness, but have a mental health issue that's going untreated.
Exactly. And these things are happening in homes, right, in families, broken families, fathers not around to help raise children, their sons, their daughters. Even to daughters, women is growing up with mental health issues because their father's not around.
Correct.
Women need their dad more so than boys because it teaches them how to have healthy relationships.
Right.
Correct.
And if not, then what happens is that they go out and meet different guys, right? And they fall victim to these different types of games that you want to call it, and then they find themselves being sucked into a vacuum, and they in a dysfunctional relationship and an abusive relationship.
Right.
That's one of the other issues, Doc, is people with mental health issues also are more likely to become victims of crime than a person without a mental health issue. So like you said, the girls without dads at home, or the family unit that's suffering because mom or dad is in jail, they're suffering some type of mental health issue.
Yes.
Whether it's temporary or not, it's going untreated, and it's only going to get worse over time.
Exactly.
And then they're more likely to become a victim of some other kind of crime, or subject to CPS investigations, and it just ties up in a system that it seems to be a vicious cycle.
Yes, it's a vicious cycle, and it's happening every day, every minute of the day, every hour of the day. The recidivism is just, you said 50% of those who
it's almost 50% of incarcerated individuals go back to jail within the first year.
With
the first year, that number goes up as the years go on, but within the first year of being released, 50% of people are going back to jail.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with what you say, Doc, is issues are not being treated.
And what can prisons do about it? This is a very hard issue because let's take African Americans for instance, right? We believe that we don't have an issue. that no, I'm not going to see a mental health clinician. I'm not going to go with counseling, and so we continue to have this vicious cycle. We continue to go through all these different types of mental health conditions, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And next thing you know, we in prison. Next thing you know, we coming home from prison. Next thing you know, we going back to prison, and it doesn't get any better.
And the next thing you know, you're 50 years old.
You're 50 years old, and you did 3 bids already.
And
4 bids.
Kids are now growing up in this. You're creating
exactly
a cycle.
You have these associations though, right? Like you have different levels of mental health, right? Like and different levels of what would be considered good mental health, right?
Okay.
All right. So now you have like people who are conditioned to believe that the life that they're living it's become so routine that it's become normalized, so they don't even know that like is part of a broken psyche.
Exactly.
Like even to my peers, and this is not to put myself above, below, or whatever. Just they're my guys, so we just put it like that. But even to see the condition of the thinking of the people who are my age and what they are doing, you know what I mean? And instead of moving toward a future where it does start to normalize or what the society considers to be normal, they still do what we was always doing, and like they haven't broken out of that. And my thing is, they don't know that there's a problem, a mental health issue with that thinking, you know what I mean? So how do we get them to identify that so that they understand it?
That's a very good question. And first I want to say that the mind cannot identify its defects.
Right.
The mind is a machine, right? The most important machine in the world, right? And it will not identify its own defects. Someone who loved this person, someone who care about this person, have to say, hey, why you keep doing that? And then you have to bring it to their attention. And once you bring it to their attention, if they see that it's an issue, then it can be addressed. But the mind can identify it. And so this is why the cycle continues and continues, and the psyche say, okay, well, they normalize it. But once you understand the process that the mind will not identify it, and you need someone who love you, who care about you, to say, why you keep going to jail? Or why you keep selling drugs? What are you doing standing on the corner? When they begin to realize, well, what am I doing standing on the corner? Now they can get the help that they need. But until that point,
when you get an intake in any facility, did they do a mental health exam, which is very basic? It's
just very basic.
Just to make sure you're not a
they
danger to the
process
population.
you. They do the screening for what level of education you got, and you go to the school part. You go,
that happens after
as
already
far
in there.
As far as the mental health,
you have to drop a slip.
You have to be seen by a mental health department in jail. You actually have to
have to drop a slip.
You have to drop a slip to be seen by the department.
Link, you obviously put out there. You've been incarcerated before. Is there is there a stigma attached to that when you go and you're in and you put a mental health slip in and you feel like you want to talk to somebody, you have an issue? Is there a stigma attached to that when you're in?
Doctors here, I'm gonna just be as honest as I can about that whole thing, right? Because then I believe that I could probably receive help with this part myself.
Okay.
When you go to jail, the stigma that exists is that you can't show weakness. Mentally, physically, or otherwise. Emotionally, you can't show that weakness because that weakness will be used against you. And the next thing you know, you buying somebody's commissary or whatever, however they use that. I'm not really familiar with the weak part of it because I don't get a chance to do that. But because of what's attached to it, right? So I think that in jail, it's not addressed, discussed, it's not thought about, it's not table, it's completely ignored, normalized in an unnatural environment. So you have to just think about the mental conditioning from that point, right? Like we're talking about somebody, we can't go to the deli. We can't even watch the channel of our choice unless we all agree on that because it's like usually 1 or 2 TVs. There's so much things situationally with it. Right, that I wouldn't know where to begin except to say like no man in jail is who he really is. You're who you have to be for that situation. So I guess what I'm asking to that is like, how do we even get to a point where we're dealing with people instead of the character or the facade that they introduce us to?
Let me ask you: is the same stigma attached if you want to get your GED or you want to get your college degree while you're in jail?
Right.
Is that same stigma attached to mental health, or is it mental health just looked frowned upon?
Yeah, they don't. Those are categorically speaking, those are way different. Like, you're allowed to educate yourself in jail without it being looked at as, oh, he a punk, he a sucker. That's education.
You're allowed to go to the drug program
all of
Yeah,
those
you're
different
allowed
things,
to-
right?
all those
But the moment you go to something because it's showing weakness, now addiction isn't considered a weakness. So if you go to a drug program and it's like they like, oh, you was out in the streets, you was living that life.
Yeah.
So you know they just call it getting caught up, right? But
Or fake it to make it. Take the program to get out early.
that's it. That's it. Meaning like they're gonna go home and do the same thing they was doing anyway.
Exactly. Just getting through
But-
this program so I can get
right.
credits, get released early.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. And it's
It's
tough.
normal.
Yeah, it's tough
And
to
that
reveal who
behavior,
you
that
are.
thinking is normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think what people don't realize is when a person of the family unit gets incarcerated, that
Right.
breaks down the whole family.
Exactly.
And then there's often associated with criminal cases, which you don't read a lot, hear a lot about. CPS is involved in your lives.
Right.
The kids aren't going to school because mom or dad's in jail. So now the CPS is coming in. The kids are put in foster homes or put into care of somebody else. That starts a cycle, and then that mental health issue would started out mom or dad being incarcerated for whatever crime they did is now going out to the children, the sisters, the brothers, the aunts, the uncles that have to pick up the kids and take them in their house.
Right.
It just creates a vicious cycle that the system is lacking on a solution for.
You know something? You just hit a good point because you figure people just don't commit crimes just to commit crimes, right? You have to look at conditions and circumstances, right?
Right.
And when you look at the conditions and circumstances, you begin to see why people are doing some of the things, right? And a lot of them is financial. Want to live better, want to do some different types of things.
Doc, that's a good point. The number one reason that crime is committed is
Yes.
economic poverty.
Economic problem. Yes.
That is the number one reason crime is
Yeah.
committed in this country.
Exactly.
And that we just discussed is if one of the people of the family unit they're supposed to be earning a living to support the family is incarcerated, economics going to suffer right off the bat.
Yeah.
If dad's paycheck is no longer there,
The family balance is off.
correct.
Yeah.
Financially, so we speaking economically, we're talking about emotionally, we're talking about people being
And educationally too.
Educationally,
Because
too.
If a lot of people in one community are not working and they get social services, money is only allocated to a school district according to the income of the community.
Correct.
right. So you have
So children is not properly being educated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that go in with that.
with Wyandanch being that the people who own the homes in Wyandanch are not the residents of Wyandanch.
Right.
That's like an exact example of what it is that you're saying.
It's not that
because-
investment in the community.
No, it's not.
It's a lot of rental.
A lot of it. It's like you
that's a lot.
you care more about your community when you own a house in it.
Correct.
Right? When you stand to lose something, then all of a sudden you care a lot more, right? But if you're somebody who's like, well, it don't matter, like I'll just save up 3 months rent and then move out.
Get out of here, yeah.
Right. Then you have no real interest in changing this environment because you feel like you could just remove yourself from it.
Right.
But for the people who are invested in the community, whether by real estate or by their job or whatever it is, that option isn't available to them. So they usually the ones who make the moves to try and change what's going on.
And you're right. Being a property owner is very important in your community.
Right.
And a lot of times people are not taught
Yeah.
how to be property owners. They're not
Right.
taught how to handle finances
Right.
and what finances mean.
No, they're taught to how to get Section 8, how to get social service to get me to
Exactly.
red, what I need to do
All
to
these-
manipulate the system to,
Right.
to
all these
financially-
temporary programs.
Temporary.
They're all temporary
Right.
programs.
And
Right.
all those programs have great worth, but they were never intended to be the answer to life's
Never,
questions.
never.
And you know,
It was supposed to be
even-
a small period of time to get families and
Get
people
them back on
their
track.
feet.
Yeah,
Right.
get them back on
Correct.
track.
Right.
Exactly.
It was Section 8 also has another thing. This is for everybody watching who may not know this. There's a dynamic to Section 8 where they will help you buy the house that they're paying the rent for with you. So you probably need to sit down with your counselor or whoever it is that you have your services through and ask them how that program works. But for anybody who does have the kind of income that could support a mortgage or even a half mortgage, they use the rent that is subsidized to them to help pay for your mortgage.
Right.
And I think that if you are on Section 8, it's worth it to look into that as an option, home ownership through Section 8, because they do offer that.
Well, I want to tell you something really quick. Is that what you just did? You gave me some very important information.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you that the health providers down there and the housing specialists down there did not tell them that.
Correct.
Right.
And
Right.
so how would they know? And
Right.
so I think more information need to be dispersed to,
Right.
to communities so they know. Once you get on Section 8, they should give you a list of different things
Right.
that is possible. And they're not doing that.
Yeah.
And Doc, also with home ownership, I know it may sound simple, but that creates a sense of pride in a person and a self-worth
Yeah.
that affects their mental
Yeah.
health as well.
Yeah.
If they feel like, I don't own my house, I could be out of here next week, the landlord could throw me out, that creates anxiety, which then leads to other issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Guys,
it changes,
so guys, if you're
it
watching,
changes.
please share. Please share this live. We got
Yes.
Dr. Thomas Ryer here. We talking about something that's detrimental. It's also considered taboo within our neighborhoods, but we all need to sit down and listen and understand that we can't fix the problem until we identify and allow ourselves to be open enough to address it, man.
We need to remove that stigma of mental health and start addressing it in our communities and in our jail populations, so
Right.
we don't have this vicious cycle of just constantly people going back and forth into jail, family court. It's just as prevalent in the family court system as it is the criminal justice system.
Right.
And these issues are not being addressed. They're not being addressed by the
being
system
They're being normalized.
or by the private figure. We got to remove that stigma.
Yeah.
And what else would you like to discuss tonight, Doc? What other?
You know, I believe that the pandemic have kind of shed some light in communities. You know,
Right.
that this is real.
It's real.
Okay, and the mental health clinicians and OMH have seen an increase, you know, in clients coming, you know, for anger management, coming for Operation Defiant Disorder, coming for anxiety disorder,
Right.
coming for depression, all these different things. Because when the pandemic came, no one knew exactly how to address it, if you remember that.
Yeah,
And so we stayed in our house. And we boarded our house up because we didn't know what was going
Wouldn't
on.
let the neighbors in.
We thought it was airborne and everything.
Right.
Leave
Right.
leave the food on the porch. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
You know, so we didn't know what to do.
Right.
Doc, you
You
remember
know.
the same thing happened when AIDS first came out.
Yeah.
It was panic set up.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can get it from toilet seats. You can get
You
it
can
from
get everything,
shaking
yeah.
hands. People
Exactly.
panicked with that.
Yeah.
But I think the pandemic brought it back to a new generation. Brought to light what was going on in our schools.
Yeah.
Because now you're at home with the laptop,
Mm-hmm.
watching what your kid's learning,
Right.
and the kids were suffering mentally.
Yeah.
Not being in that social environment. You know, we have kindergartners,
yeah.
first, second, third graders that the only thing they know is going to school with their friends. Now they're home.
Yeah.
Can't see anybody. They
know
don't know
many
why. They
kids.
don't understand it.
I don't know a single kid who actually excelled through that online learning thing. Like you know how you had you were able to monitor your children when they were in school because you could go to the PTA meetings, whatever you were doing, their assignments, you get progress reports.
Right.
Even right if you're a non-working parent, whatever, do that during doing the online schooling.
Right.
You could see the kids weren't really making any progress.
Right.
They were all going over things, and it was dependent on if they were even interested. Right? Because I know kids who were like in front of the computer but doing a million other things. And if you look at the 20 different boxes with 20 kids in it, and they all some
And down,
it looks crazy.
Doing
You
it
know
on
what I did
Right.
appreciate? I'd appreciate that parents, right, was able to become parents.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they had to watch their children.
Yeah,
Now
that's
there
true.
was some who played and did some stuff on the computer, right? But then there was parents who said, "Did you finish your work?" And they
Right.
would look over there and then they would go up in the history and see what they've been doing and kind of checking their kids on that.
Right,
You know,
right.
so
But it also,
parents.
it
Shout out
also
to those
angered a
parents.
lot of school boards because now parents are seeing what the schools are doing and they're becoming more active in their school boards. The meetings have, across the country,
Right.
parents have been going down to the school board meetings, interacting with the school board members, and find out what has my kid been doing for the last 5, 6, 7 years. It's-
holding them accountable, and that's what it is.
Correct. They had
Hold
free
them
reign for a
accountable.
long time. And
Yeah.
what parents need to do is
Exactly.
stay active in your children's mental, active in your
Yes.
children's schools.
Yes.
And suicide rate in children has gone up since the pandemic started. That has to directly affect because of mental health issues
Right.
that are suffered during the
Definitely.
pandemic.
Between the ages of 5 and 13 is the higher rates of suicide.
Yeah.
In school now.
Which is
And
horrendous.
and children are coming to school right now saying, "No, something, I'm going to kill myself."
That should be
And
the
social
most
work
of your
deal with
life,
that.
Doc. You should be worried about coloring, playing kickball, or running around the field. Not suicidal thoughts between 5 and 13.
Yeah.
Riding a bicycle.
You want to kill yourself. And some of them have plans. Oh, I'm going to jump off a building. I'm going to run in front of a car. You know, these things are serious accusations. You know, and so this is why I think education departments need to be accountable for what they're teaching our kids and how our kids are learning. Is
Doc,
important.
one of the things that I've noticed with my own child and children, I have a 9-year-old and a couple 20-something-year-old daughters, social media and the children and has created such anxiety that these kids that
And
we
depression.
we didn't have growing up.
And depression.
Right.
What can we do with that with our children? Should we limit the time they're on them? Because every child wants a new iPhone,
Right.
but they're not mentally able to process what's going
It's
on
a
in
lot
that
of
phone.
information for young people.
Yeah.
And one of the things they are raising our children. Media is
TikTok's raising our children.
They're raising our children.
Yeah.
And what can we do about it? You know, because if you say, okay, you can't watch so and so here when they go out, a friend of theirs have it on TikTok and they're
Right.
doing something. You can't get around it.
No.
You can do is that you can teach them how to use it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, parents are not teaching children how to use the media.
Right. I think that this is what my kids as well as my stepkids too, that when they learn new information from social media, from however it comes in, I do ask them just to run it by me as like a fact check, just to verify the information that they're taking in, because I don't want them learning something that it might be someone's opinion, but they stated this fact, and my kid starts to take that in as a fact and move forward through life having to be untaught that now.
Right.
So I ask them, as you take on new things,
Yeah.
as you take on new things, you know, please bring me that information so that we can have that conversation, you know. And that, to me, that has been very effective as far as the influence that social media has on them. Because you can counteract that influence by just being active, like just like
And screening what they watch.
Yeah.
I think we all are all guilty to a certain extent. Go a minute, go 2 minutes. We're all going to pick up our phone and check.
Yeah.
Check for a message.
Yeah.
Check for this. Check for that.
Yeah.
We got a caller calling in, so let me take our first call tonight. Go ahead. Well, they're on hold right now, so we'll call the call. But anybody, we have lines are open. 631-833-0000. You're welcome to Street Legal Live. Hello.
Hi, I just heard you talking about social media.
Yes, and the impact it has on, you know, anxiety and just creating.
Yes, so I was just wondering what the doctor's perspective is on. I was reading an article about how, specifically TikTok you were just talking about.
Yes.
There's been a rise in children. I think it is the same age group you were just talking about, 5 to 13, possibly to 16, experiencing more like tics on average. And I didn't know if you had a comment on that. I think that kind of is severe anxiety, but also I'm forgetting the exact name of what the mental health disorder is that is associated with tics. I don't know if there's a comment on that.
I'm
I'm
not understanding what the meaning tics. Is that the mental health disorder we're speaking of?
No, it's related to anxiety, like people who
So,
are
physical
will
tic?
just like have random outbursts.
Okay, yes, okay, yeah. Well, you know, so...
Oh, Tourette's or tics?
No tics.
Tics,
Correct.
okay.
Sorry, I couldn't remember the word, and I think
Go ahead.
tics were associated with
Yeah.
Tourette's.
Well, you know, I don't know if that's really associated with that. I read a lot of articles on that. I don't know if it's associated with that, but what I do know is that it is a high rise of anxiety and depression within children between the ages of 5 and 13. And what we do is we talk to our parents and tell them to monitor what they do at that age and what they listen to.
And I think it would, Doc, also you tell parents to limit the time that these children are on these phones.
Exactly.
Whether it be 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, instead of just giving free reign. And
Yes.
like I said before, we're all guilty to it to a certain extent. Go 5 minutes without checking your phone. Go 7 minutes. Put it down for an hour. People, I wonder who texts me. What's going on TikTok? What's Facebook have? And people have the alerts that go off all day.
Yeah.
All day on their phone.
You know, and I want to say...
15 years ago, we didn't have this.
I also want to say to the caller is that Operation Defiant Disorder is also an increase too in children because of the media review. That they are acting up in school now. They are being suspended. No tolerance rule, and it's just a lot of things going on, not only at home but also in the board of education, also in the school systems as well.
And if you don't mind me asking, what are some of the things you're experiencing from social media with your child?
So I'm actually in my 20s. I'm not, I don't have children. I was just wondering, but I do know, like, growing up, even, like, on Tumblr when that was popular, people were, like, very much glorifying, like, harming oneself and posting pictures of that. So
Yeah, I
that
remember
definitely
that.
is a really
Remember
negative
that.
effect of social media. And I feel like during the pandemic,
Yes.
what you had to do was turn to social media. That could definitely amplify that.
Right.
And you're right about that because it's being amplified because of the social media.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, children are saying that they harm themselves, they want to kill themselves, and they coming up with plans to do it. And so that means they are listening to media and coming up with these plans that are very dangerous, and we need to pay more attention to our children.
A lot of the copycat stuff. Oh,
Yes.
you know, they've seen
for
this,
sure.
and they've seen that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big issue. But again, we all have to address. We all have to learn at some point. Put the phone down for an hour. Turn off, the Facebook or the Instagram. Again, we're all guilty of it. But
And do something with your children.
Read
Don't
read
turn
a
off
book.
the podcast though. Not during 6 to 7.
Not 6 to 7
No,
on
that's 6
Tuesday
to
nights.
7.
No,
Speaking
live.
of which,
we're live every week.
guys, if you watching, please share the episode. Share.
Yeah,
Continue to watch.
continue
Right.
to watch.
Have
Right.
a good night.
You too. Take care, sir.
Follow us on YouTube. We have live YouTube channel every week.
Right.
And again, Facebook Live. Again, the caller number 631-833-0000. We are live tonight with Dr. Thomas Ryer.
Right.
So
All right, Doc. I see police. I still get scared to death. I've been out of jail since 2016. I can't do nothing about it. I see a cop car. He could be 2 cars behind me. My heart is pounding. What can I do about that?
You stigmatized.
just stick with that. Listen,
You
What the hell am I going to do?
stigmatized.
Am I going to live with this? Is this like for life?
I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to talk to our children. We need to and tell them how to address these type of issues. Because officers on the corner, that doesn't mean that you made the
something
committed
wrong.
crime.
Right.
Because you're walking down the street, an officer say, "Hey, let me talk to you for a second." That don't mean you did anything.
Right.
And but in in which we come from, when they approach us, it's usually only for 1 or 2 reasons, and so
Right.
we stigmatized by that. But
Yeah.
I think that as long as we get some training on how to communicate effectively, we'll be okay.
we talked about that last week. We were at Spin New York. I know the police department, local police department here in
Shout out
South
to
County,
Booby Williams. Spin the yard.
started that coffee with a cop. This certain the police
Right.
department is trying to reach out because at one point in time in our society, the cop was looked at as your friend.
Right.
And somehow that's turned, or it's been stigmatized that the cop is the bad guy looking to do some harm. In a lot of these minority communities, that's the impression you're getting.
Right.
To change, because that's where you need the most policing, and that's where they need the most. So the community needs to be able to turn to the police officers to help them.
Well, their training won't allow us to do that, right? Because if you actually
Is it the training, or is it the social environment that they're growing up in there to not trust the cops? This is what my uncle experienced. I'm going to experience that.
Well, I think that's from the people who are on my side. That would be that standpoint.
Yeah.
But as far as the police, their training is to approach us, see if we're doing something illegal, and try to arrest us. We know that, right? So the moment they approach us, we automatically nervous because we know they're not pulling us over to see or to protect and serve us. We know this. So when we get pulled over, we know that the flashlight is all over the car because they're looking for something.
Yeah, but Link,
That can't be ignored.
it can't be ignored. But
Right.
the same people in the minority communities are also the victims of the crime. So those same people, the same family that they
Right.
may do that to you, your mom, your aunt, your sister may have to turn to that same officer.
Everyone has to pay?
No. But I'm just saying, what is the answer? Like, I don't know.
The answer is the training, right? The training has to be when you approach a situation with a person, whether or not you believe them to be a suspect, you have to approach them respectfully, and you have to open a dialogue where it's not like, "Hey, you, what are you doing? Get over here!" and you shining a flashlight, and if you're doing all the disrespectful things, that's going to get you a bad reaction from people in my community, including that that we're supposed to be working to build a bridge with, right? And I'm not just blaming the police, because like I've said plenty of times, the police is saying
we have a caller online. Welcome to Street Legal Live. You are live on Street Legal. Hello?
Yes, hello?
Yes,
Is Street Legal?
this is Street Legal. You are live. You have a question for
Okay.
Dr. Thomas Ryer? Hello?
All right, yes, hello. My name is Kevin Benlons, right? I'm
Peace.
calling up there now. I did 15 years in prison. They let me out, right? Let me out of the plantation and stuff like that. That's why I'm going to call it, because prison, because I'm saying that
Prison didn't prepare you to be released back into society.
Prison didn't do anything for me, really, mentally, spiritually, physically, at all. And came home, they let me out. They gave me $40. I didn't know what was going on when I got out released. I didn't know nothing about no social services, housing, none of that things in that nature. They didn't tell me none of that before I got released after doing 15 years in prison.
Yeah.
So now I'm stuck with post-traumatic disorder and stuff like that, things in that nature.
Right.
It made me more worse than when I went in there.
Well, does the parole department offer any of that? Did you seek any, or did they just put you out in the street with $40 and say good luck?
That's what they do with everybody. They tell everybody, here's $40, now go home.
Gate
Now,
fee.
if you don't know how to use the train, bus, things in that nature, you don't go right back.
And you
They're not
talking?
setting up and designing no programs for us to do. Pre-release, there ain't no pre-release.
What
The release is a
what
revolving
prison?
door to come back in there.
What prison did you? What prison were you released
from?
from?
I was in Sing Sing. I was in Fishkill. I was in all them jails up there. I did 15 years straight. I didn't do no 1 minute here, 1 minute there. No, I did it straight.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that we know these problems. What's the solution to these problems?
Right. Well, you know something. Thank you for
Your honesty.
coming on and your honesty. I really appreciate that. But me and a guy named Sean Pika, I'm pretty sure you know Sean Pika from Hudson Link. We started Hudson Link back in 2000. 2000. And what we did is that we wanted to educate men that were in prison, because we thought that if they get higher education and released, that they will do well, coming out of prison. Now, a lot of the prisons didn't have that, and so we brought the college program back. And then
I never got a chance to get into college because I didn't have that type of education.
Okay.
I was up there around some people some brothers up there, like Herman Bell, Black Liberation Army.
I remember Herman.
Muhammad. I was up there, around some strong people up there and stuff like that. I learned from them. I didn't learn nothing from the prison. The prison didn't teach me nothing.
Right.
Just to be a better criminal.
Right.
What I'm asking is after we release, they say these pre-release programs and stuff like that designed for us to stay home in society.
Right.
They don't do nothing for none of us. They make you worse than what you came in.
Have you heard the Osborne Association?
I heard about all of them programs.
Fortune Society?
I've been home 13 years now, off parole. I'm not on parole no more. I'm doing good because I did everything myself.
Congratulations.
I didn't get no help from no parole.
Exodus transition.
Back in it. That's what they're there for. But what I'm saying is that we know all these problems that we have in our communities. We want unity within our communities.
Right.
Nationwide. What's the solution? We sitting up here talking about the police is our friend and all that. Police ain't our friend. You know what I'm saying? They got to come in our communities the correct way, not the wrong way with this gun out drawing at you, trying to shoot your head off.
Right. It's that's a respect thing, but I want y'all to know, and for the viewers too, the guy on the phone, I met this guy on my 16th birthday, and when I say like we have had one hell of a journey together, he's one of the people I could list on 10 fingers that are very, very close to me, and I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate you sharing your story for real, KB. That means a lot to me.
Man,
I love you more, man. I really do.
We never had an argument, never disagreement. We always gonna keep it that way.
Right, but you brought up some interesting points, though.
What's the solution to the problem?
Well, KB, my question we discussed earlier, you did the 15 years. Is there a stigma attached while you're in there to seek any kind of mental health counseling or treatment while you're in jail?
I came home and I went to Mastic, New York, right here, and I got mental health help over here. And I had Patron. I didn't receive that in prison. Prison don't help you.
No. But was the programs available? Or they weren't even available.
They kept saying, "Oh, the budget couldn't pass. The budget can't pass for people to go to school. The budget couldn't pass for people to learn a trade, to come home, to do better. The budget was always an excuse about everything." Well, what I'm asking, what's the solution to the problems that we have? I know I was the problem, so I'm gonna start with me first.
Yeah.
And I bettered myself throughout the years.
Right.
By being around positive people, but there's more to it than that. We want solutions to the problems that we're having. We want unity within our communities.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what we need. That's what we want.
Right.
I think a step
Because every
toward
time
that
you turn around,
solution.
somebody getting shot. A little kid's getting shot.
Right.
Somebody's getting shot. This getting shot. So there's still a problem.
A step toward that though, KB, would be exactly what you're doing. We have to open that dialogue. We do have to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like what you're doing right now, is somebody's relating to as they hear you.
KB, change starts within yourself. Like you just said, you first have to look in the mirror, identify that you have a problem to get that help. whether it's alcohol, drugs, mental health. So you can't just put it off on the jails or society to fix it. The person or the family unit, like Doc said
Gotta be
earlier,
some self-accountability.
some family member has to say, why do you keep doing this? Why are you in this trouble? Why are you hanging out on the street corner? So,
and you're right. There's a lot of mental health issues, and there's a lot of concerns. And I think that until we realize that mental health is real, that this is a real thing.
It's real.
And
It's real.
When we realize it, real, then this way we can take some active. We can be active, proactive, and do something about it. But the point is that a lot of brothers out there who are complaining, well, the police is this and the police is that. These guys are committing crimes.
correct.
These guys are on the corner committing. Let me say something, brother. These brothers is on the corner committing crimes, and police is running up on them because they seeing you on the corner 9 and 10 times a day. They seeing you on the corner 7 days a week. And if you on the corner, you doing something. If you on the corner every day, 7 days a week, you're doing something. And so this is why they are coming. They saying, do you have any ID? This is why they saying, get in the car. I want to talk to you. But my thing is that if you really want to see some change, we need to start talking to the brothers and say, you know something, you got some gifts, you got some talents, and let's put it to use and let's turn this cycle around. Right. That's how you do it.
Doc, like you just said, that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
The family unit.
You know, y'all.
Thank you for calling, KB.
Doc, the family unit has to say
care,
to that individual, why are you on the street corner every day?
Exactly.
It shouldn't be the cop's job to come up to him, but the mom, the dad, the brother, the sister. Why is Johnny out in the street corner every day?
But the reason why they're not saying that because there's so much anger in the family.
Correct.
You know, it's anger in the family. You can't talk to your grandkids. Grandkids is actually stealing property from grandparents, and you know, and they doing that one punch knockout with senior citizens in the streets. There's so many different things happening that you don't even want to approach these kids because the violence is at an all high level.
You know, mom and dads are afraid
to talk to their children, and that's a mental health issue. Why should I be scared to talk to my son?
And that anger though, right? Like I got 2 stepsons right now, right?
Okay.
And 3
you have 2
stepsons.
sons. You have
2
sons. All right, let's do that. I like that.
There's
that.
No
Let's do that.
steps between
Okay.
them.
There's no
There
steps
is.
and
There
there's
is.
no half.
They know me as
Your
dad.
son.
That's your son.
dad.
All right, let's just say this.
That's your son.
They are so angry because their dads are not an active part of their lives. Like their dads get to pick and choose when they want to be a part of their lives.
Okay.
And because of that, they are so angry. And I watch most angry children take it out on the parent that they do have because the other is not there to deal with it.
But then also in school,
And they misbehave in school.
The behavior,
they're getting in trouble because they're seeking attention. They're not getting from that parent.
The love and the tender touch.
They act out.
Negative attention is as good as any attention.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, in my house now, the phones get taken at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And that's not to be cruel or any of those things. Which kids
set
they
rules,
think it's like, oh, what's up with all these new rules? I'm learning new things, and so I have to enact those new things that I'm learning, right? And sometimes they come across as rules you don't want, but I still have to do it because that's my responsibility as a parent.
Right.
But like that anger is such a real thing, and as far as the therapy for that anger, I have no idea how to deal with that. I have no idea how to
let me give you a
address it.
suggestion, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times, right, in black and brown communities is that they don't all eat at the same time around the table. Because usually around the table, when everyone talk to their parents right around the table, how was your day today? How was your day today?
Yeah, but Doc, I think that, not to interrupt, but I think that's gone across all, not just black and brown communities.
No,
that structure of sitting down having dinner every night.
This is in every community. But what I'm saying is that parents is not taking the time to talk to their children about anger. And it doesn't matter whether you brown, green, yellow, purple. Anger is anger. Anger has no color. Sure. And we need to talk to our children about it, how to channel it, and how to control it. Because anger is natural.
Correct.
The Bible says be angry, but sin not. So what is that saying?
Control your anger.
Control your anger.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
But we're not doing that.
We have another caller on, Doc, and then we have a few more minutes left. So you are live on Street Legal. Welcome.
How's it going, guys? I just wanted to bring up a couple of things that I've just been thinking about while I was listening to you guys. You guys are bringing up some great points.
First, we appreciate you listening to us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We're trying to grow the show, and all of our listeners, we appreciate the time you're spending with us. But go ahead.
Absolutely. So one of the things I read recently was that a community was sending in a mental health team on non-violent calls into 911. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
What was that question again?
So recently I was seeing that there's a couple of communities that were implementing a rule where if you dialed 911 and it wasn't a violent crime, they were sending out mental health teams instead of patrolmen. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do that in like remaking policing. Send a mental health professional out with the police officers because a lot of situations where an arrest happens could be resolved without an arrest happening if you had a mental health professional there.
Yeah,
it's
right.
And that's why they were doing that. In
And
support.
I think a lot of that, and I bring it up because a lot of that I see is when it's like a domestic call where it could be just a simple just an argument between spouses.
Well, yeah, part of the problem with that is
knowing that they have to take somebody out, and that happens a lot more. I see in the urban communities than more so the suburban communities.
It happens all over because I think a lot of the police departments have mandatory policies with the mandatory arrest policy in domestics just to quell the situation down.
That's right.
Because what's happened in the past, and not to fault the police, but an hour later, everything's calmed down. The cops spend an hour. An hour later, dad goes and gets a gun or gets a knife and stabs mom because it's calmed down. So I guess they felt that removing one of those parties from the situation, spend the night in jail, whether it's good or bad, it's going to quell that situation. And then routinely, as you probably know, order of protections are issued right away, stayaways, whether or not the party wants it. So it's creating issues that, again, should be solved by mental health. Every father or every mother that gets to an argument doesn't need to be arrested.
That's true. I'm just thinking if it's just an argument between the two, if you're taking one of them to jail and they've never been to jail before, now you've just kind of ruined their record.
Well, they're not taking them to jail in the argument. What they're doing is taking them to jail when someone say he touched me, he hit me, or she hit me. That's when someone going to jail. But they say they just arguing, they was talking loud. They're not going to take them to jail.
It's a tough situation. The police are put in a real difficult situation with that because it's to protect someone from getting hurt. And it's hard to make a tough call on that because if they're wrong, issues are going to fly all over. The same thing with a judge issuing an order of protection. Well, do I issue an order of protection? Do I not issue an order of protection? You have to err on the side of caution because if something happens, it's going to blow up, and we know it's going to happen. It's going to be on the cover of the newspaper and the news. So it's a tough issue to do.
I think, and so just if I'm on the same page, I think we're all in agreement that some of these calls should be handled by some mental health professional.
We're all in 100% agreement on that.
Exactly, and that's the spinoff from the domestic violence.
And I just have one more question, and I don't know the answer to this. I'm just curious. What is the percentage of private prisons? Do you guys know?
Oh, I don't know across the country. I don't know. New York, we don't have private prisons.
Yeah, we don't have private prisons.
But across the country, I think there are a big percentage of private prisons in other states.
In the South.
And it is obviously a lucrative business. And I think there's some federal private prisons also, I believe. Yeah, so it's big business. It is big business, and we realize that.
Okay.
Okay, we appreciate the call. We got to grab another call.
Thank you so much.
You are live on Street Legal.
Hey, Bobby Link. What's going on, guys?
What's going on?
Gary.
What's going on, Gary? How are you? Welcome from Florida. We have a Gary from Florida calling in. Gary, we have Dr. Thomas Ryer here. Any questions for Doc?
How are you?
Absolutely, Doctor. Thank you for doing what you guys are doing. Bob Link, I can't tell you enough how proud I am of you guys for bringing this kind of awareness.
Thanks, man.
I'm a big advocate myself. Having two young kings that I raised that are pretty much, I will say, they're actually great members of society. Both of them are in the Air Force, a couple of them are tech sergeants.
Good. God bless, Gary. You've done a great job.
Yes,
hey, Bobby, no, man.
Maybe some of those talks I gave you years ago sunk in.
Absolutely. I was going to tell you that, man. Link made a good call right now. Fred, I'm so proud of you, man. You already know, kid. You already know.
Yeah, thank you, Gary.
Man.
I appreciate you.
I get tears in my eyes. I've seen this dude when he was a little kid. I mean, I don't want to blow him up, but the point is, when I hear him talking about his son, it just brought me back to things that Bob told me 25, 30 years ago. I was never on the state side of it, but Bob kept me from going there. By being around, like the doctor said, being around positive role models, and I try to perpetuate that moving forward and try to stop that, how would you say, that stigma that's affiliated with us.
Well, Gary, I've always tried to do that with all my clients. Is
yeah, no,
they're a person.
Bobby. I'm not saying I'm the golden child.
No. Listen, you're a success story, and God bless you. You've done very well, and I'm proud. I'm proud to
Salute to you, man.
Yes, salute to you. I observed you on Facebook.
Congratulations,
family's beautiful. And
on your new life.
Exactly.
And yo, Gary, just to tie something in, right? Like, all right, you know how you said that Bob kept you from going stateside because he always would give you that direction and that advice. Now we talking about somebody who received money from us for getting in trouble, right? But still will advise you not to get in trouble.
Let me just chime in. All right, go ahead.
All right, yeah, he will. Somebody who receives money when we get in trouble is telling us not to get in trouble, and then like adamantly meaning it, right?
Yeah.
So you got your story is so similar to what my story is, and so many people's stories that are involved in his life because he literally steers you away from crime. It's the craziest lawyer relationship that you could ever have.
I've always looked at it this way: the human being first, the business second, and that's the way. That's the way I look at it.
That's a good way to look at it.
Give a testimony to that.
And there has to be a balance. I mean, human being first, the business second.
Like you and Bob both know who I was. I got some people here in the room with me who know who I was, right? Like, I gotta say is like everything that I'm doing right now at this stage of my life is a direct result of listening to the people who care about me. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you guys know my dad. I can give you, and I'm going to show you how this is applicable to this whole discussion.
Yeah.
There was an incident where my pop store got raided. Bigger Phil, the restaurant, back in the days.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I called Bob up. It was nothing to do with my dad. And I just called Bob up. I didn't even get 3 words out. I think I said, Bob, they ran into my dad's store. He's like, don't worry about it. Before I knew it, my dad was in tears saying that Bob pulled up to him and said, hey, back there was Brown in Macedonia at the time. He was like, hey, Your Honor, Bob, I'm representing him from Macedonia. He was like, hey, your son told me don't worry about it. My dad loved Bob like his brother.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a million of those stories too, guy. Good dude, man.
Yeah. You already know. But what I was wanted to say moving forward, when KB called, he was saying, things that, the cops are not our friend. We've kind of, how do I say, we kind of progressed past that. Because I have nephews that are police officers. I have aunts that are retired police officers, NYPD. I'm down in Florida now, and I have in-laws that are, on the job, and kids that are younger than you, late, that are on the job, and I'm actually proud of them because what they're taking into the community nowadays is a fresh mindset to work as a prevention is better than cure mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to advocate for these young kids out here. It doesn't matter the race. Of course, we're going to take care of our house first.
Right.
And that's where it starts.
Everybody has to take care of their house first.
Right.
It comes from within.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise a child,
man.
man.
Speak on something else really quick. Bob again and Doctor and actually Link, you guys hit on something really big. It starts at home.
Starts
You
at
have
home.
to make some tough decisions, Link. As you're saying this, I'm seeing my life and my experience playing out right in front of me as you're speaking these words into life.
Right.
I was the bad guy. You guys know I was a single dad.
Right.
I hear that's my baby mom. Big up to her. Without her, I wouldn't have 4 beautiful children.
And shout to Phil's Jamaican restaurant wine as we miss you, man.
Yeah, you already know, man. You already know. So
Well, Gary,
this is something that's very, very dear to me. I mean, we have to sit down. We had a thing where Wednesday, every day we eat, Bob, and guys, we'll sit down and eat at a table that was normal. But every Wednesday we made it, we called it round robin. We sit at the table, there's no head. We sat at a round table and we said, listen, everyone has the floor, no one is above anyone. Well, we really know who the king was, but that's the point. And I said, listen, I want to find out exactly what's going on in your life. This way you need to know what's going on. If someone is bullying you, if there's a girl you like, if there's a guy you like, if there's a teacher that's making you feel inferior, or if you feel like they're not treating you up to par. We have to make sure we're engaged in our children's life, or else some streets is there to raise them.
Correct. You're 100% right, Gary. We've lost that sense of family structure in society today.
Yeah.
Society operates 24/7. Years ago, and it's not that long ago, Sundays there was no sports. You kids now have sports. We have lacrosse games, soccer games on Mother's Day. That used to be a day where the family got together at grandma's house, whoever's house, and they all spent together. We don't have that anymore. Yeah. There is something every single day of the week that keeps that family from sitting down at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock and having dinner and having that, even if it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's every day is filled with something. And then the social media takes over. Everybody goes into their own bedroom, on their phone, click.
But I want to thank you for calling
Yeah,
in.
I
I want to
appreciate you
thank you
calling
for
in, Gary.
all that you said.
But if we don't start talking about these issues, they're never going to get addressed, Doc.
That's right. And you know, some one of the things when you talked about Link, right? And I'm looking over at him. I said, you know something? I may not have known him for who he was, but I know the man that I know today. That's what's more important to me.
I hear the maturity in him. I mean,
that's what's important.
I'm just so proud of you, man.
I'm proud of him.
Thank you guys.
Proud of him.
Thank you guys so much.
It was my pleasure to welcome him on the show and be my co-host because I've seen him.
I'm gonna let you guys go. I love you guys.
Hey, take care, man.
We appreciate the support. But
we're
just about running out of time. I think we're gonna have Doc on another episode one night because we had a very good episode tonight. But again, everybody, I appreciate you tuning in to Street Legal, and here we are, Street Legal Live.
Keep doing what you do, brother.
Thank you. Street Legal Live. Here we are. I appreciate the support,
Thanks
everybody.
for joining us, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Top of the A, top of the day, top of the kings. And not to brag, the chain's expensive, a lot for the ring. Been through a lot, even had to cop a squat in the bing. But that's okay, cause I came home and I hopped in that thing. And dead or alive, that's just the way the streets leave you. It's the difference between the streets and street legal.